All right, congratulations to you. So I just wanted to get started here. Talk a little bit about just the excitement of the history of this. I mean, you talked about a little bit about it last night. And is the reality set in that now you're the governor-elect, the first black man elected in the history of Maryland, third in the nation's history?
It's exciting. It's exciting. It's humbling, and I think that people the reminder of the historic nature of the campaign. It's both not lost on me, and I think people are excited about it. I think they're excited about the fact that progress in our state has not been inevitable. That we can have these conversations and to be in this seat, but it's possible, and I think people are genuinely excited about the ticket that Maryland is going to usher in. But I think the thing that people are also excited about is the history that we are going to want to set is not personal, it's collective. That there are big issues that they want this team, that they want the Moore Miller administration to be able to deal with quickly. That is things like how are we having 21st century schools for all of our students, and how are we making sure we're prioritizing public safety in all of our neighborhoods and economic growth, that we're going to create pathways for work, wages, and wealth. That's what people are looking for, and that's also what I'm excited to deliver.
You said Governor Hogan reached out to you last night from the podium. Talk a little bit about that conversation.
He did. I was grateful that the governor reached out, and he was kind and gracious, and offered congratulations on a resounding victory, and he also offered his support in terms of making sure that we are going to have a smooth and an orderly transition. And I thank him for that, because it's an important component of the democratic process, and I'm thankful that Governor Hogan has been so aggressive in making sure that we can have an orderly transition. And I know that our administration looks forward to working closely with the Hogan-Rutherford administration to making that happen.
But yeah, you didn't receive a call from Mr. Cox last night. He hasn't conceded. Does that trouble you at all? Are you surprised?
It doesn't trouble me. Elections are tough, and I know that as we're going through this process, this has been a hard fought process. I know that Mr. Cox came into the election saying he wasn't sure if he was going to accept the results, but then truthfully, he didn't accept the results of the 2020 election either. So I think Mr. Cox is showing who he is. But I think one thing that we know is we're moving forward, and we're excited to move forward with the Hogan-Rutherford administration on this transition period. And I want people to know that come January, the Moore-Miller administration, we will be ready.
Now, do you have ideas at this point as to who you will appoint to which positions? I mean, do you have a running list? Can you reveal any names that?
I'm not revealing any names, but just know I think people can feel a real sense of confidence that while we were very focused on making sure that we could have a successful November 8, and making sure that we won with a mandate, I want people to rest assured with the fact that we are also very focusing on November 9 and then beyond. That we are getting ready to launch, and we are going to have come January not just the most transparent, but also an administration that looks like the state of Maryland, and the most hard-charging, aggressively moving administration that this state has ever seen, to be able to continue to focus on the issues that the people of Maryland want us to focus on.
Sure. Now, can you describe how you'll govern? What will your leadership style be? What will a Governor Moore look like?
I think a Governor Moore is going to look like how I've always led as an executive, where I led soldiers in combat with the 82nd Airborne Division. I ran a successful small business here in Maryland. I led one of the largest poverty-fighting organizations in America. And the way that I have always led is by building a big table and making sure that all voices are heard. I understand what it means to be an executive, that we're going to have very clear guidelines, very clear values, and a vision, and we're going to be moving towards that. But we're going to build a very big coalition in order for us to accomplish that. And that becomes important because in order to actually operationalize these things, in order to make them real, it means that people must feel a vested interest in what you're trying to accomplish. The people of Maryland, last night, they gave us the mandate. But it is going to be collectively as a state that we're going to go ahead and accomplish those things.
Sure. And what can you guarantee that you'll accomplish in your first 100 days in office? I know that question's always asked, but talk a little bit about really what you can get done realistically. I mean, you have a Democratic General Assembly, you have the mandate, as you mentioned. What can you get done in the first 100 days?
Well, I think we're going to show people that how government is going to work. It's going to work with a core focus on making government work for people. And so I think the things that you'll see is we're going to work in partnership with the legislature, where the legislature is going to know that they're going to have a partner in the governor's office. We're going to work in partnership with our local jurisdictions, our county executives, our mayors, our city council people, our alder people, so they know they have a partner in the governor. In the governor. But also, people are going to know that we are going to be aggressive and we are going to move fast. That we are going to be a state that's going to focus on things like how do you make our state more competitive while also making it more equitable? And that's not a choice. We have to do both. How are we going to prioritize education and a 21st century education system for our kids? And that includes things like actually implementing a pre-K for every child in need in the state of Maryland and a service year option for every single high school graduate. How can we focus on transportation assets that actually move people from where they live to where opportunities lie? And so you are going to see in our administration that the way we campaigned, which was aggressive, the way we campaigned, which was going all around the state and talking to groups all around the state, the way we campaigned in terms of really being transparent and being very communicative with the state and with voters is exactly how I plan on governing.
But Governor-elect, isn't that a tall order because you have an economy that's flat, you have an educational system that is struggling. Kids are struggling, as we know. We've seen the latest test scores. You have a transit system that that needs retooling. How do you get it done beyond the platitudes that you talked about last night to actually govern and get it done?
Well, I think the things that we have done and the things that I have a track record of doing is the way you actually do hard things is you take them head on. The way you do hard things is you actually move in partnership to be able to accomplish those things. We know we have real issues and we know we have real challenges as a state that we have to be able to address. But the way we're going to address them is not by shirking from them, and the way we're going to address them is not by deciding who I'm going to listen to and whose voice is going to matter. The way you're actually going to get it done is by making sure that we can build a broad coalition in order to make those things happen. Every initiative that I talk about, every single one, these things are not just important, they are doable. But they are only going to be doable is if we are working as a team in order to accomplish those things. And so how we're going to present that with the legislature, with the local jurisdictions, and being able to use the unique authorities of the governor's office to be able to make those things happen in the lives of all everyday Marylanders is going to be how we're going to accomplish those things.
And one of those things you talked about during the campaign is the $15 minimum wage. Is that a priority in your first 100 days? Can you get it done?
Yes, yeah. I mean, that is a priority where we know that right now it's slated to happen in 2025, and that is too late. It needs to happen next year. We've got to make sure that people are getting paid a fair wage for the work that they are doing. Because the challenge we have right now in the state of Maryland, if you want to talk about getting your economy going, you have to make sure you're not disincentivizing work. The best way to get our economy going and keep our economy going is making sure that Maryland is not ranked 37th in the country in unemployment, which we are right now, because we have jobs available in the state of Maryland. We just have people who do not have the skill sets or the touch points to be able to participate in that economy. And so that includes things like making sure we are giving people a fair wage for the work that they are doing and reducing and eliminating the idea that people could be working a job, and in some cases multiple jobs, and still living below or at a poverty line. That's something that Maryland can do, and it's going to be one of the fastest things that we can do to keep economic activity going within our state.
But you have to convince skeptical Republicans, skeptical business people. How do you do that? Where's the arm twisting going to go, and how does that work for you?
Yeah, I mean, well, part of it is I remind them that I'm a small business owner myself. So when people say, it's difficult to build a business in the state of Maryland, my answer is I know. I had to do one. But I also know this. I'm very good at math. And if you think about what it's going to take in order for us to have measurements of economic growth and economic vitality, it means, and just that everybody knows, you've got to have more people who are actually participating in that economy. And that means getting people back to work, making sure we're focusing on job retraining and job reskilling, and also having people being paid fair wages so they can actually participate in the economy. That's the best way that we can get Maryland's economy going and strong.
Do you have a meeting set up or entreaties out to the other side, to the Republican side? You've talked a lot about reaching out to the other side. Is there something set in motion that you have planned for that?
There is. I mean, and you'll see it from everything about, from how we think about the transition and transformation teams that we'll be launching to how we're talking about the administration that we're going to build. When I say that we are going to build an administration that looks like the state of Maryland, and people say, well, does that mean you'll have people who are not Democrats on that? The answer is we are going to build an administration that looks like the state of Maryland. All throughout state government, all throughout our departments and agencies, etc., we are going to have people who might not have your party affiliation, but they have the most important affiliation that I'm going to need in order for our state to be successful, and that is they will be Marylanders. This is something that is incredibly important to me, that we have people who every day, all day, their number one priority is making sure that Maryland wins and that all Marylanders can be part of that process. That is going to be a gating criteria and not necessarily what is your political affiliation.
Let's get a little personal here. You spoke a lot last night about your mom and your wife and your kids. What impact has this had on your mother, the single mom who lost your father, who I learned yesterday was a journalist? I didn't realize that. Talk a little bit about this impact this has had on your mom first, and then your wife and kids. Just you taking on this campaign and then winning.
I think for my mom, my mom has been our number one volunteer. I think she has knocked on more doors than any volunteer that we had, and I think for her this is it's incredibly powerful because this is a woman who immigrated to this country. She immigrated from Jamaica, and when she was just a young mom and a young wife, watched her husband die in front of her and her children, and raised us as a single mom. This was a woman who did not get her first job that gave her benefits until I was 14 years old. First job that gave her reliable hours. And so I think not only did she help me and help to instill in me that these issues are personal, and I think that helps to push the kind of urgency that we want to move on these issues. But I think when I think about the fact that this is a woman who immigrated to this country, who in January is now going to watch her son being sworn in as the governor of a state that helped to welcome her, there's a beauty to that. And I know there's a real level of excitement that she has, but I think her journey, her story, her life, in many ways is the embodiment of a larger American dream that we all strive and we all hope for. And I'm thankful that I have such a remarkable wife and life partner who is going to make a tremendous first lady for the state of Maryland. And our kids, as I was saying yesterday, they are brilliant, they are kind, and they've been unaffected. And I think that is, as a parent, that's all that I can ask for, and they're excited.
Did your mom give you any advice at all that you can share?
I think my mom, the best advice my mom gave me throughout the process is don't stop being you. And I think that was something that we wanted to be very clear with the people of Maryland, is that, I've been working on these issues my entire life. This has been my life's work, working on issues like early childhood supports, education, criminal justice reform, transportation, economic growth. These are the issues that I've devoted my life to. And I think the way that the advice that my mom gave me was keep fighting the way you've always been fighting for our communities. And if you do that and you don't try to be somebody else, you don't try to be a career politician, don't do that. Be you. And that is what the people of Maryland will vote for. And I'm thankful that I learned last night by an overwhelming fashion, my mom was right. We just had to be ourselves and to know with the people of Maryland that we're excited to work together in order to accomplish these challenges and to accomplish the big things and to really deal with the challenges that are standing in front of us.
Great. Well, Governor-elect, thank you so much. Congratulations to you again. I'm sure we'll be continuing this conversation. And
I'm looking forward to it. And thank you again.
We'll see you soon, sir. Okay.
I'll see you soon.
All right. Bye-bye.